We often look to our greatest thinkers for a kind of spiritual perfection. We want them to be the living embodiment of their own wisdom, a perfect, unblemished guide through the chaos of existence. But what happens when the guide himself seems to get lost? Alan Watts. The voice that introduced a generation to the liberating yet dizzying paradoxes of Zen Buddhism. A man who taught us to accept the flow of the universe, to see the divine in the everyday, and to understand that the search for a perfect self is often the very thing that prevents us from finding it. And yet, in his later years, this same voice, this same man, found himself increasingly adrift. He became a heavy drinker, a man whose friends and family worried for his health. He would eventually die at the age of 58, and while his death was officially attributed to a heart condition, those who knew him understood it was a heart weakened by a lifetime of addiction. So we must ask the question, how? How could a person like Alan Watts become an alcoholic? How could a philosopher of such profound clarity succumb to such a common human weakness? The answer, perhaps, is found not in a single flaw, but in the very complexities he so eloquently described. Watts was never a moralist. He didn't preach a strict code of conduct or claim to be a saint. He often spoke of his own irreducible rascality, a rebellious spirit that made him more human and, for many, more accessible. He was a man grappling with the human condition, not transcending it. Some say the pressure of being a prophet was too much. Others suggest his drinking wasn't an escape from life, but a misguided attempt to feel it more deeply, to dissolve the self and become one with the isness of everything. A dangerous experiment with his own philosophy. And then there were the personal struggles, multiple marriages, a complicated family life, and a man who, despite his immense wisdom, found it difficult to navigate the messy realities of his own relationships. In the end, his life was a paradox, a man who pointed others toward the highest wisdom, while simultaneously wrestling with the lowest of human frailties. He was a high-functioning alcoholic for years, a testament to his sheer force of will and intellect, but even he could not outrun the consequences of his choices. He died not as a perfect guru, but as a deeply flawed, magnificent human being. And in his imperfections, he might have left us with the most important lesson of all, that true wisdom isn't about escaping our humanity, but about embracing it with all its light and all its shadows. The question of how someone like Alan Watts, a celebrated philosopher of Zen and Eastern thought, could become an alcoholic is a complex and often discussed topic among his followers and biographers. There isn't one simple answer, but several intertwined factors from his personal life and philosophical outlook are often cited. First, it's important to understand that Watts never presented himself as a saint or a guru who had transcended all human flaws. In fact, he was quite open about his irreducible rascality and wayward spirit. He distinguished between the realization of one's deep spiritual identity and the need for a strict personal morality, which he saw as a separate issue. For many, his imperfections, including his drinking, made him more relatable and real. He was a person grappling with the human condition, not an untouchable spiritual master.